Welcome to Unscripted, an IICRC video production. My name is Jeff Cross. I'm your host and the asker of the questions. Speaking of which, here's one for you. Have you ever, as a cleaning professional, been asked a question by a client that was a real head scratcher? Like, hey, if you clean my carpet, will it get dirty quicker? Or, does carpet cause allergies? Or maybe you've heard this one. Isn't it true that steam cleaning will ruin my carpet? Well, you might have heard those, and we all know there are plenty of myths floating around. And today we're cutting through the noise and addressing the biggest carpet cleaning misbeliefs that not only confuse homeowners, but sometimes can even mislead professionals. And to talk about all this today, it's my pleasure to welcome James Toll and Jessica James, both extremely talented IICRC approved instructors, and they're ready to share their expertise with you on this topic today. James, Jessica, welcome. Good to have you here.
Of
Thanks for
course.
having us.
So, we're going to talk about carpet cleaning myths, all the things that I'm sure when you teach your classes, you come across some of these questions. But let's start off with a couple introductions. Most people know who you are, but Jessica, ladies first. What's up with you these days?
Hi, Jeff. Things are going good. Just keeping busy with the school and teaching classes and getting ready for a great new year ahead of us.
Fantastic. And I know you and I have done a couple of webinars in the past, so we're just back in sync again. And same with you, James. We've worked together. What's up with
Yes,
you in
sir.
your world?
Still cleaning carpets. I'm actually, when we're done here, going to go clean some commercial condominium hallways, all the excitement that entails. I still teach in classes like Jessica does, and I'm on the board of directors for ISSA, so fairly busy, I'd say.
So you're the only one that's going to clean today because I'm not going to be here.
Probably.
All right. Well, thank you both. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these myths and misbeliefs that consumers have. Some professionals might have them as well. They might hear it. They wonder, what do I tell my clients when I hear these things? So, Jessica, let's start with you on this first one. And, a lot of homeowners think when they buy a new carpet and they get it cleaned, it's going to wear out or get dirty faster when they get it cleaned. Maybe they've had their carpet cleaned and that's happened to them. I don't know. But why is that belief so persistent? And what does the science of cleaning tell us about cleaning your carpet?
Sure, there's not like a specifically short answer on that one, and it really has to do with the cleaners themselves. Why people think carpet gets dirtier faster is usually when you have poor quality cleaning methods. If you have a cleaner that hasn't been certified, hasn't had the education, hasn't learned his trade, they might be using detergents and soaps that are of lower technology. The solution isn't thoroughly being rinsed out. They're not using their equipment properly. Maybe they're not using equipment that is the professional grade of equipment and leaving the carpet a little bit wet for too long, causing some resoiling issues. Or again, usually what I find as a carpet inspector, it's residue from detergents, residue from soaps, residue from improper cleaning agents is usually what I find.
I always call it budget cleaning, right? You get the budget cleaner in who doesn't have the experience, like you said, and maybe using less quality detergents or doing the old more is better. And if they're not
Yeah.
properly rinsed out, and ideally you spray detergent on, let it do a job and rinse it out. But you can also rinse with water that has detergent in it. And if it's faster, you can just add more, right? And you add more, it leaves more residue. I think there is a valid concern that way, but for the most part today, even a pretty lousy carpet cleaner who doesn't have the training, has good detergent, good equipment, can still do a job with very minimal resoiling. I think it was much more prevalent 25 years ago.
Along with that, some people might say that, you know what? I've heard of carpet cleaning not being a good experience. Carpet can get dirty quicker if I get it clean. So I'm going to clean it myself. I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to rent a machine, and I'm going to clean my own carpet. Now, can rental equipment clean just as good as professional equipment, or is there more to it than that?
I'd say it'd be very hard to make it work as good as professional cleaning. largely because that machine is going to hold maybe 2, 3 gallons of water. And not only the amount of detergent you have to put in that water to make it actually clean, it's the type of detergents that are in there that are pretty old formulations. So I think you're pretty much guaranteed to maybe even visibly make it look clean, but it goes right back to our first conversation, the tremendous amount of residues it leaves behind. And the big advantage of professional cleaners is just the sheer amount of water we can flush through the carpet to get the soils out, to leave less residue, and still get it dry in less than 48 hours. I cleaned with that machine with my father 1 week before I became a professional carpet cleaner 39 years ago. So I know from firsthand how terrible they are. And I was amazed at the difference between rental equipment and professional cleaning equipment 39 years ago. Can't compare it to today.
Absolutely. Now, Jessica, if you're at a grocery store and you see someone pulling one of those machines off the shelf and they're going to go home and clean their own carpet, what might you talk to them about? What would you tell them?
I might talk to them about some of the topics that James mentioned, that the DIY equipment just can't keep up with the professional equipment. The power and the heat that you're going to get from that little plug-in piece of equipment is no match for a professional portable or a professional truck mount equipment. And I love the way that James brought it back to the chemistry. The type of chemistry that you're going to purchase or that they sell with those pieces of equipment are outdated. They are inferior to anything that a professional is using. Something, purchased at a professional distributor. And so you'll get much better cleaning with much less residue. And with that equipment, you'll get a lot more extraction. So you'll have your carpets dry in, anywhere from about 4 to 6 hours, as opposed to waiting, like James said, 48 hours for that carpet to dry.
I've heard more time than that even. I've talked to some clients and back in my day that talked about 3 or 4 or 5 days it was still wet. I mean, I can't imagine how that's even possible, but they said it with a straight face, so I have to think they weren't fibbing
I
with
know
me.
why. They tried too hard. They tried too hard.
There is that too, James. There is that. James, let's talk about this point, this next question. A lot of people feel like if it smells clean, it is clean. Spray the stuff, deodorize it. If there's no bad smell, the carpet must be clean. Why is that a dangerous misconception in carpet care?
That's without going too in deep with it, I have a couple issues with that. One is I'm allergic to most of those products, not terribly, but very sensitive to them. And if you start going into phthalates and all the things that we're using to smell up our homes, there's a lot of health concerns with some of those things. But covering up a smell doesn't necessarily mean the smell's gone. One of the most common difficult one is dog odor, just like a wet dog smell. You have to literally get that carpet clean, remove all that dog odor, more than likely just the dog dander and the dog fur, or you're just covering it up. And once those things dry, you're leaving residues, more residues in the carpet that also attract resoiling. So there's a multitude of reasons why I'm not a huge fan of spraying deodorizers on carpets, particularly at the end. They should be sprayed on that first and then rinsed out with the detergent. That's my philosophy.
Jessica, what do you think? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, this is something that in the cleaning world we deal with a lot. People tend to associate if it smells clean, it's got to be clean. But there's a difference between something smelling good and something being clean. When you're using just a masking agent or, a frou-frou juice to cover up a soil or a scent, that's all it's going to do is it's just going to cover it up for a little bit of time. The soils, the source materials haven't been removed, and it's important to perform cleaning before using any deodorization practices. Or like James said, you can add deodorizers to your detergents that are focused detergents for cleaning, for lifting soils, for dissolving soils, which are the source of the odors. So kind of that perception that if it smells clean, it must be clean is an incorrect perception because cleaning has to be performed in order for something to be clean.
Now, James, Jessica, we talked about this a little bit as we started our interview about too much detergent. But that's really a bigger issue than just, oh, I use too much detergent. It can be a really important topic. Because some might say if if 4 ounces of detergent works, well, 8 ounces must be good, or 16 might even be better. I mean, there's some logic out there that we just understand. Walk us through why using too much detergent is actually a problem.
Sure. Detergents are designed in a very specific way with lots of different ingredients to properly perform soil suspension and dissolving, and they are designed to work with water. So when you dilute your cleaning concentrate, the product is specifically designed to perform appropriately. If you add, and James is the chemist here, so he's going to be able to probably answer this a little bit better than I. But if you add too much water, your chemistries don't have the ability to work. The ingredients that the lab technician put into those detergents don't have the ability to properly work. Either they're going to have too much water and they're going to be diluted to the point that it can't lift the soil, or it can't dissolve the soil, or it can't emulsify. Or you're going to add too much of the product and it's going to leave too many of those ingredients on the carpet, or the detergent that you're using to extract maybe your pre-sprays won't have the ability to completely remove all of those residues. So not only will you leave soil behind, but you'll also leave, a sticky, tacky residue, when that product dries, that will just resoil rapidly.
All right, good information. And James, I believe you have some comments on this topic and rental machines.
Yeah, I think it ties right back to the comments earlier about rental machines. If you look at that little machine, you put a few gallons of water in, and how many ounces of detergent you're supposed to put in there. One of the biggest changes our industry did, and I'm going to say, Jessica, maybe what, 18, 20 years ago, even our own extractors went from 1 ounce per gallon. Put 10 gallons of water in the machine to rinse the carpet with. We put 10 ounces of detergent. The carpets were sticky and crunchy, terrible. The industry went to a 321 to 1 dilution, which virtually leaves nothing there to begin with. So I think the proper dilutions, the proper types of chemicals, and that's one thing professionals have now. We have a whole new line of detergents that have been around for, now it's not new anymore, 18 to 20 years, that allow us to use very small amounts of detergents and the right detergents with a good process, and we can rinse them virtually completely out of the carpet. So it's another tie back to residues from rental machines.
Sounds like squeaky clean carpet to me, which is what we want. Clean.
Absolutely.
And thinking about the smell, I mean, we all want a carpet or a home to maybe have no smell. I mean, you just want a clean environment, and a clean carpet is going to help with that. But here's the kicker. You both have heard this, that carpet has been accused of causing allergies. That, you know what, if I have any issues with breathing, out, get the carpet out, remove it. Uh, when you hear that, what is your knee-jerk reaction? Get rid of the carpet so allergies are gone? Does that make sense?
I hear it all the time, and I can tell you this morning, I happened to clean a carpet in a condo for a little old lady whose granddaughter and niece were paying for the cleaning. And it was one of the more soiled carpets I had ever seen. They wanted to help grandma out. They didn't want to deodorize. No, we just actually cleaned it. And the health implications, you could tell by the smell when I left. There was no more stale, stinky carpet. It was nice and clean. I still have a gallon of deodorizer in my truck. I haven't used it in 3 years because I believe that cleaning is actually the answer. And you're able to take a carpet that was way beyond soiled. Elderly person, very large soil stain where they sit and eat. And I was able to virtually remove all of it, and now the smell's gone. So I think cleaning is much more the answer than deodorization or any of those other processes. Thorough cleaning.
Now, once in a while, the medical profession will say, well, your doctor might say, get rid of the carpet. Jessica, you've heard of that. So
Absolutely.
what's up with that?
So I've actually had a doctor tell me this when I took my grandson in for uh, allergies. He said, "Oh, first thing you need to do is get rid of your carpet." And I just about had a fit. Being a carpet cleaner, owning a carpet, cleaning company for 37 years, I couldn't believe that this information was still out there and that there were, professional people that actually believed that this was true. Actually, carpets, we've all heard this, carpets act like a filter. So what they do is when you have hard surfaces and you have soils settle on those hard surfaces during the night, the minute somebody gets up in the morning and walks around, all of those soils fluff up into our breathing zone. And if somebody suffers from allergies or respiratory issues, they've just created a worse situation from themselves, for themselves and their children, their family. Um, if you have properly maintained carpet, and that's the key, is it has to be properly maintained. If you have properly maintained carpet at night, when all the soils drop down onto the carpet, they get trapped in all the fibers. And if you vacuum your carpet regularly and have it cleaned regularly, it is actually, and many, many studies show this, even ones, um, uh, the systematic review of the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. The only reason I know that is because I actually just looked it up a bit ago. But in 2024, they redid some of the studies that have been performed throughout the years and indeed found that if you have properly maintained carpet, if you vacuum your carpet frequently, if you have it professionally cleaned frequently, it will actually reduce the allergens in the indoor environment, whether it's commercial or residential.
So, Jessica, what did you say to your doctor? Because you mentioned you got a little upset there, but what happened with that visit?
So it wasn't a great day for me because, my grandson was just, suffering. And to hear a professional say something like that, who's supposed to be an educated professional in allergy relief, I told him that he was absolutely false. This was not true, and that he didn't know what he was talking about, and that he needs to look at some of the studies that are being performed and verify his information before he gives false information as a medical professional, giving false information to, his clients, his patients. And
Ouch. Ouch.
yeah, and then I appropriately said, you know what, I don't think this is going to work for us. And grabbed my
So
grandson and walked out.
I've never had that experience myself, but I've heard many stories like that because they're looking for something to tell you to do with your house, right? And
Yeah,
carpet can, I mean, it can be an allergy issue if it's really dirty. It's like a filter. You got to clean it and maintain it. Yeah. Well, poor doctor. James, you feel sorry for that doctor?
Not least. No, I think we were reminded 2 years ago at one of the trade shows of that we are now dealing with people that have never owned or used a vacuum, and we're still expected to get that carpet perfect clean with one clinic. So, it's something we all have to be reminded of. All we can do is greatly improve the indoor environment, and cleaning is one of those things. Whether it's washing walls, floors, or carpets, it's all about clean, right?
I remember when I've taught classes, IICRC classes, we talk about vacuuming and just cleaning carpet. It's like if you have a bathroom floor, how often do you sweep or mop that floor? It's like often. It's the bathroom.
Yep.
Well, what about your kitchen? What about other hard floors? You take care of them more often than you do carpet. There needs to be a balance. I think that's part of the solution here.
absolutely.
Um, James, have you ever heard? Let me ask you a really tough question. Have you ever heard of a stain resistant carpet?
Sure.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes.
Then you're qualified to answer this question. Your customers might think because they have a stain resistant carpet that it's going to stay clean forever. You can spill stuff on it, it won't stain. What's the reality of that?
Well, we heard this ever since it came out, but since I've been a cleaner, mid 30 some odd years ago, that it's walked off the carpet. So the more you walk on it and don't maintain it through vacuuming, professional clean, the less is there. Test that we still do: pour water on the traffic area. If the water goes straight in, yet you pour water near the side of the room, it doesn't go straight in. It's a very good way to indicate how likely much protector is left. So those particular carpets are 100% dependent on that stain resistant treatment. As it degrades, your carpet is less stain resistant. As long as you're using proper cleaning chemicals, that the durability of that coating is good. We also have access to products that will help remove all the other stains, Kool-Aid stains, bright dye stains. And they don't always come out either. They're stain resistant, not stain proof. That's probably the better way to term that one.
I was waiting for that stain proof because that's what they're thinking. It's
Yes.
funny how consumers will hear the word stain resistant and it somehow changes in their head to stain proof. Jessica, do you see that too?
Oh, absolutely. We sold and we always talk to all of our technicians about selling, the product that will help prevent staining, make your carpet stain resistant, not stain proof. There's a lot of different reasons why, the product can fail, all the way from application to uh, too many people walking in that home, or too much traffic in that environment. um, I had a client that actually vacuumed their house every single day. With that client, she was like one of my favorite clients because you're cleaning clean carpet. But with that, I told her that we did need to kind of upbeat the stain resistance that we put on our carpet. And instead of doing it annually, we did it every 6 months. Um, and the reason being was, with that much agitation on a carpet, that coating is just going to, like James said, flake off, crack off, come off, and it's no longer going to be a product with the expectations of helping prevent the carpet from absorbing that dye molecule.
Exactly, exactly. Jessica, when you mentioned you had a cleaning company for 30, how many years?
37.
37 years, and you did steam cleaning, hot water extraction.
Yeah.
Did you know that that type of cleaning ruins carpet? Did you know that?
Not sure that's the truth.
No? All right.
I have heard people say that, but
Talk about that because some may say you should only dry clean your carpet. Is Talk about that. What's the difference and why is water okay to use?
sure. So, steam cleaning your carpet is, number one, the most recommended way to professionally steam clean to professionally clean your carpet. Um, and it doesn't cause harm to the carpet as long as it's professionally done. The carpet cleaner, fully has to understand, the primary universal first law of cleaning, of vacuuming those soils before they start to clean, because soils can cause damage to carpeting. But it's not only up to the cleaner to vacuum that carpet before he starts cleaning, but it's also up to the homeowner to maintain that carpet and vacuum it, 2 to 3 times a week. Um, the deep cleaning practice will actually maintain the lifespan of that carpet. Um, in my company, we actually did both. We did dry powder cleaning, we did dry foam cleaning, and we also did steam cleaning, hot water extraction cleaning. By far, I would say maybe like 96% of the time, we would recommend steam cleaning. The dry cleaning processes are moderate cleaning processes. They're not going to get deep into the fiber to completely remove all the soils. And in fact, they're actually going to leave some of the product behind, that dry foam or that powder. No matter what the wonderful manufacturers say, you will leave a little bit of that behind. I've tested it before and sent the results up to my laboratory. And there is definitively a residue that will be left behind with some of those dry cleaning practices. Not that you can't leave residues behind with steam cleaning, but a lot more residues that shouldn't be in the carpet with some of those dry cleaning practices. But as a caveat, I will say there are instances where I would actually recommend a dry cleaning practice. So it's kind of on you know, a step by step or a base by basis um, decision by the professional to make that determination of what's going to be the best cleaning practice for that type of carpet in that type of environment with that type of traffic running through it, and what's exterior to the environment. All of that is going to make a decision to the type of cleaning practice.
The thing is, as a professional, you have a lot of tools at your disposal. You want to use the right tool for the right job. You wouldn't want to frame a house with a hammer you would use to hang a picture, and vice versa. So, for those watching, the professionals out there, there's not one fix for everything. You got to be smart. You got to think about what you're doing. But James, on the same topic here, you said after we're done recording this episode of Unscripted, you're going to go do what?
Lean commercial carpet in condominium hallways.
Are you going to use hot water extraction or
I sure am. And I think
why?
just
Why
that,
are you going to do that?
well, that what Jessica was talking about, it realistically, our industry's done a good job of that's almost always the minimum requirement is the noisy van in the driveway or the noisy equipment in the house. And all of those pieces of equipment have dramatically improved since when I started 38 years ago. The truck mounts had very little power, very little heat, and the chemicals were not that great. By today's standard, it's unbelievable what we can do. Yeah, I have a dry powder system I use once in a while. I can also do bonnet style cleaning, which are absorbent pad. But manufacturers don't like machines that go this way. They only like machines that go this way, right? We've been hearing that for years. So even if you want to maintain warranties, and some carpets now have a 20-year wear warranty, right? And if you're doing the wrong system on the wrong carpet, and I don't know anyone off the top of my head that disallows hot water extraction cleaning on a carpet. I'm sure there are some all ball carpets, maybe some wall to wall silk carpets where that wouldn't be the greatest idea in the world, but yeah, it's the most accepted cleaning method, especially when you're resolving issues such as staining or excessive soiling. You pretty much have to rinse all that stuff out of there. The best tool a customer can have is drying time, right? All methods have some version of water, but if that's the concern they have, I'll change my method. I'll use a much drier method, but most people just want the thing clean, right? So it's a conversation.
It is. And one conversation I've had with some who are not strong believers in hot water extraction is how do you do your laundry? You know, you have clothes you've worn all day, you're sweaty, dirty, and are you going to dry clean those? Or are you going to put them in the hot water and the detergent and let the machine do its work? Carpet is a textile. So, uh, you both are saying the right stuff here. Did you know that?
No, I was just going to say we should wipe our clothes off with a towel at the end of the day and just hang them back up again.
How does that work? How does that work? All right,
When
we
you're
have one.
retired, you can do that.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
right.
We have one more point to cover. And we've talked about this, especially you, Jessica, in our interview today. It's vacuuming. Now, some might say vacuuming a house once a week, every 2 weeks, when you see stuff on the carpet is enough. Let's talk about what do you recommend to your clients, to those you teach in your classes, as far as the frequency of vacuuming that our professionals watching today can talk to their clients about. And Jessica, we'll start with you, and James, you'll wrap it up for us.
Sure. Being, in the cleaning profession, my husband is always telling me, Jessica, put the vacuum back in the closet. I have three different vacuums because I know how important it is to vacuum my, $12,000 investment in my carpet. Cleaning once a week in most cases is not enough. You do need to maintain your carpets by removing all of those hard soils that are going to cause scratches in your carpet and abrasion and make those walkways look bad. The more soils you remove, or the more dry particulate soils you can remove, the better your carpet is going to look after your professional cleaner comes. So we used to recommend to our clients, and we actually even had like a little brochure about making sure that you maintain your carpets and making sure that you vacuum them at least 2 to 3 times a week. And then we kind of talked about some of those areas where you want to vacuum, like your bedrooms. You may want to vacuum those 2 times a week. The living room, you may want to vacuum 3 times a week, especially if you eat in those areas. The hallways or any of your transition areas, keep those nice and clean so that you don't have what we call apparent soiling. Apparent soiling is when you get the carpet fibers scratched and the light reflects a little bit differently. Sometimes we call it like traffic lane gray, or your carpets just look dingy. And so you need to remove the soil in those transition areas or anywhere where somebody's going to pivot, so that you can keep those carpets looking clean and bright.
That makes sense to me. James, what do you tell your students, your clients about vacuuming
Well, I
their
think
carpet?
Yeah, I think Jessica and I are married to the same person because I never put mine away either. I have a central vacuum. My wife likes a different upright. It's just they're always out because you're always going to use them. I'd say first off, the most common question I get in class is, what vacuum should I buy? And I have two answers. My first answer is always the one you'll actually use. I think that's maybe the Canadian condescension in me, but if it sits in the truck and you never use it, what's the point? So if you're 105 pounds and so is your vacuum, you're never going to use it. So I think that's an important one. I like a two dual motor vacuum, but they could be 800 to $1,000 here in Canada. But I think it's just the more the better. I think as Jessica gave the right answer, more at the doorways, more in the family room. The one thing we're facing now is a lot of area rugs. I do probably 20 a week. And if it's an area rug for where the room where the people eat, if you don't recognize that those food particles are there and you clean it when it dries, it smells terrible. That's rotten food smell. So vacuuming is critical. And then I think carpet cleaners still believe they're able to remove 100% of the soil by just cleaning and extracting with detergent water, and you can't. Once you get it wet, it's not coming out easily, and the volume of detergents and water you require dramatically increase. So let's do it easy, get it out dry. I also say, in reality, I'm going to bring this to tell you exactly what I do. I only vacuum those areas that benefit me, right? Hallway, stairs, main use room. I don't pull out the furniture and vacuum where they're supposed to be vacuuming. I'm only doing it where it benefits me, which of course benefits them. So that's my usual comments on vacuum.
I've heard there's like a formula as well, some consider like you vacuum once a week per occupant in the home. So if you have a family of three, that's three times a week. If there's a dog, that's four times a week. Maybe there's no exact science to this, but I think the main point is vacuum your carpet on a regular basis and keep it clean. So when your professional cleaner comes to do his job, he can do a better job for you. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would also say all the soil that's on every hard surface floor always ends up on the carpet. So the carpet is basically what's cleaning all of your other floors. So vacuum more often. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I think we have uncovered some myths, some misbeliefs, shed some light, some, I like to call it logic on some of these topics. So, James, Jessica, appreciate all you do for the industry. And let's hope that some of this resonates and makes a difference out there in the world of clean.